Welcome to the CONNECT Collaborator Interview Series, where we host 10-minute conversations with healthcare professionals and partners with the goal of encouraging deeper collaboration in the healthcare industry. Today's guests are Adrienne Pringle and Cathy Thompson. Adrienne is a registered psychotherapist and certified music therapist with over 20 years clinical experience. She co-founded Beyond the Studio, Sing It Girls, and the Canadian Music Therapy Podcast with Cathy Thompson over 10 years ago. Adrienne works in private practice with Beyond the Studio and CHM Therapy as an educator and supervisor with Concordia and Wilfrid Laurier Universities, as well as a clinical supervisor and performer. She serves on the board of directors for the Canadian Music Therapy Fund and is a past president of the Canadian Association of Music Therapists. Adrienne's clinical work is focused on mental health, bereavement support, hospice, palliative care, chronic illness, and using voice, song, and music to support emotional and health across the lifespan. Cathy Thompson is a Canadian business leader, having spent nearly 30 years creating companies from the ground up. She has intimate knowledge and expertise with sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations, franchises, and licensing. In addition to her companies, she mentors female business owners on idea incubation, business setup, systems, and operations. Cathy founded Beyond the Classroom in 1998 and has grown the company through a franchising model throughout Ontario since 2015. She is also co-founder of Beyond the Studio and Sing It Girls. In addition, she co-hosts the Canadian Music Therapy Podcast with close to 20,000 downloads since its inception in 2021. In 2022, Cathy launched her own book, The Dandelion: The Secrets to Growing Your Successful Business from the Ground Up. Welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Lorie. It's great to be here.
So let's start off by talking how the two of you came together as collaborators. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I love telling our story, and it starts out more personal. So actually 20 years ago this spring, Cathy and I both had newborns, and we went to a mom and baby group at the Early Years Center. And so the reason we both went to that group is because we were both going to be traveling with our babies home to Nova Scotia, where we have family roots. So we became friends that way. And fast forward a few years later, Cathy and a different business partner, Laurel Crossley, were hosting women's retreats called Simply Blossoming. And I was very fortunate to be able to attend the retreats and present at the retreats and be inspired. So at the time, I'm working as a music therapist. I'm working at like part-time different places, and I have my own little private practice, but there is no room for growth in what I was doing, nor did I have the expertise for that. So in the visioning that we were doing, I had a little idea that I chatted about with Cathy because I did have a wait list and I could see there was more need. So I knew she had her business Beyond the Classroom, and I put it out there. Could we collaborate and use the model or the way that Beyond the Classroom is set up and create our own company? And Cathy was like, yes, let's do it, which was awesome. And so that's where Beyond the Studio came from. We were able to just continue visioning and brainstorming and collaborating together. And here we are 11 years later. It was a great personal and then now professional collaboration.
Can you tell us about your collaborative partnership Beyond the Studio and how it works?
We started out at Beyond the Studio with music lessons, private music instruction, taking people off of Adrienne's waitlist, connecting them with our music teachers, and then slowly branched into music therapy services. And then in 2023, we started to branch into psychotherapy services. So the company has evolved a little bit, and we still do all three, but just to give a little bit more information about Beyond the Studio itself and what we're doing over here. And then in terms of how our partnership works, I just love it because both of our strengths come together to really form this amazing company. From the time that a client reaches out, whether that's for lessons, therapy, Adrienne speaks with them, finds out what their needs are, given her background and experience, and then matches them up with someone that works with us, a therapist or an instructor. And then the process becomes seamless for our clients because from that hand-holding, connecting with their therapist, there's the administrative part and the planning part and the innovation pieces of the organization, and that's sort of where my strengths come in charge of the operations piece. And so we come together as partners with strategic planning and visioning and all that great stuff, but the day-to-day operations, Adrienne's in touch with our therapist, she's recruiting, she does our recruiting, and I'm more of behind the scenes, looking at making sure that the company's innovative, that we're being responsive to what's going on, obviously in society and what the needs are, and things are always changing. So in terms of my role, that would be that piece. And then for our podcast, because Adrienne has an incredible network of therapists across Canada, she reaches out to book our guests. So really listening to the needs of our listeners on the podcast and thinking about who would be the best fit as our guests. And so Adrienne will reach out in that regard. Then I do a little bit more of the administrative support and the operations around the podcast as well. And it works really, really well, the two of us just coming together with our separate strengths.
As co-founders, how important is it to have different yet complementary skills?
Luckily, we do have that personal connection and we work really well together, acknowledging each other's strengths. I think it would be more difficult if we had a very similar skill set. And we also have things that we obviously aren't great at, like social media or our podcast production. We bring in experts to help us with those aspects because, again, it needs to be that collaboration, that partnership.
From your point of view, what is unique about having a partner?
I would say just in terms of what I was talking about in that seamless process for the clients in terms of using our services here at Beyond the Studio. Also, we have a program called Sing It Girls, which is a licensed program. The program is meant to be purchased by music therapists in Canada, the US, the UK, to run it in their communities with young women to help them express self-esteem and strong voices. And with that piece, the music therapists are in connection with Adrienne. They trust her. She's been the head of the CAMT, over 20 years in the field. And I think that in terms of that piece, the music therapists as clients with that program, again, there's that seamless operations side and the client-facing side with Adrienne.
What outcomes do you envision from your collaboration and hope for in the future?
We really want to keep reaching out with that Sing It Girls program. I mean, our vision would be that we have young women ages 7 to 15 around the world who are learning and growing. We also want to keep going with the podcast. Putting Canadian music therapy on the map in this way is really important to us. Cathy and I do a lot of presenting, so just spreading the word, presenting at conferences. We just published a journal article in the Canadian Journal of Music Therapy, just spreading the word more widely. Advocacy for the profession is really important to me, and that's something that we've really been able to focus on. So we've been able to shine a bright light on Canadian music therapy and tell amazing stories, and that's what's really touching about the work that we do as music therapists. And we want to obviously keep helping people right across the lifespan using music therapy and psychotherapy, which is an area that we're really moving into now, providing those services and music psychotherapy. At the heart of Beyond the Studio, what we're really trying to do is to help people nurture a lifelong love of music. And so we want to just keep doing more and more of that.
And what is the unique benefit of your partnership?
Well, I have lived the benefit of having this unique partnership because I was doing something before that was much smaller. We've been able to really grow together. Cathy really challenges me. She'll ask me, let's hear about what your vision is for the next 10 years and then really deep diving on those things. And so the best example I can give is the podcast, because this was an idea that Cathy had through, different planning that we do. And I was like, no way, no, not doing it. And look at it now, right? So she, just that gentle encouragement and understanding why, and then just jumping in and trying it and really being there and supporting one another through that. And I just want to say a couple words about Sing It Girls. So Sing It Girls is such an amazing example of our collaboration, both as Cathy as a business person and me as a therapist, but Cathy brings a whole other wealth of experience with her work at CAMH and program that she developed there for supporting girls' mental health. And so we're really able to bring both of our areas of expertise together in creating this program. And we've been able to help hundreds of girls from coast to coast across Canada through this program.
Where is the best place for people to connect with you?
Our websites, beyondthestudio.ca or singitgirls.ca, so you can find more information about Beyond the Studio and Sing It Girls, along with our podcast and the journal article that we just published.
Thank you for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck as you continue with your partnership and ongoing journey on social media.
Thank you, Lorie.